After the man wakes up, he casually opens the curtains. He found that all the doors and windows of his house had been sealed with wooden boards. The wealthy man looked confused. After calming down, he quickly arrived at other exits, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't even open the door. At this point, the phone has lost its signal. The wealthy seemed to realize the seriousness of the matter, so he immediately picked up his golf club, knocking hard on the door lock. But even if he breaks the door lock, but still unable to open the door from inside, when he looked out through the cat's eye, but he found that the originally bright courtyard had also become pitch black. The frightened man suddenly looked at the statue behind him. When he looked closely, he realized that the original statue had a miniature probe placed inside its eyes, and his every move has been constantly monitored. At this moment, a sudden sound of electricity came from the room. The man quickly searched around the room. Sure enough, he found a walkie-talkie under the sofa. When he answers, he immediately tells the other party, "As long as you can release me, you'll get $100 million. But after the other party finished listening, he showed no concern, and it says it won't take long. Everything here will belong to him. The wealthy immediately became furious upon hearing this. Then he picked up the club again and tried to pry the nailed wooden board, but no matter how he tried, the wooden board remained motionless. At the critical moment, he suddenly saw the treadmill beside him, so a bold idea suddenly emerged in his heart. He fastened it to the conveyor belt of the treadmill with a bandage, then plug in the power supply and start the treadmill. Soon the bandage went around the treadmill. Then the man tied the wooden board with the other end of the strap. He thought this way he could easily pry the wooden board. Unexpectedly, an accident occurred the next second. A man wakes up and is trapped in his own mansion. All exits are tightly nailed down by wooden boards. There are even microprobes monitoring his every move. He tried various ways to escape, but there's nothing to do at all. At a critical moment, the man suddenly had an idea. Prepare to use the treadmill to pull the unsealed wooden board, but once everything is ready, unexpectedly, an accident suddenly occurred. Fortunately, it's just a slight scratch. The man narrowly escaped the disaster. Then he used the treadmill to take down the plank. However, what made him despair was, the French window behind the plank turned into a cement wall. He hasn't regained his composure yet. The lights in the room suddenly lit up. Then all the air conditioning was also activated, accompanied by bursts of hot air rushing into the room. The entire room instantly turned into an oven. Unfortunately, the drinking water has also been depleted. Even the tap water was cut off by the other party. The man had to take off his clothes to cool down, but the next second, the lighting in the room has changed. The hot air instantly turned into cold air. This makes the hot and dry man instantly feel a sense of comfort. But it wasn't long before the temperature of the entire room plummeted. He had no choice but to curl up on the ground and wrap himself in a carpet. So the man spent the whole night in agony. On the second day, the man suddenly came up with a solution. So he immediately took the walkie-talkie to the bathroom and disassembled it with a razor blade. Then remove one of the internal leads, so he can use the walkie-talkie to search for other channels. Not long after, coincidentally, a driver passing by suddenly received a signal. But when faced with the man's words, the driver didn't believe him and thought the man was joking with him. So he interrupted the communication. The man who had just a glimmer of hope fell into despair again. But at this moment, he looked at the hairdryer and suddenly thought of something. Then he came to the cloakroom, removed the hook from the hanger. To prevent his actions from being discovered, the man quickly covered the camera on the sculpture with a carpet. After finishing all this, he then placed the hook inside the hairdryer. After heating, it becomes a simple soldering iron. Then the man started cutting along the gap in the wooden door. With his efforts, the door was finally cut out with a properly sized opening. But the moment he walked out of the room, he was completely immersed in despair. The man removed the hook from the hanger and placed it in the hairdryer. After heating, it becomes a simple soldering iron. However, when he cut the door open, the scene before him made him completely despair, because at this moment, he is not trapped in his own mansion. It's a house built by the killer inside a cave. At this point, he has been trapped for 2 whole days. Although he walked out of the room, he never found a place to go out. Fortunately, the man did not give up. He found that the ventilation pipe in the room seemed to be connected to the ground. Then he immediately returned to the room, removed the hanging board from the ceiling, then stepped on the treadmill and entered the ventilation pipe. When he struggled to climb to the end of the pipeline, but he found himself in a mountainous area far from the city. Even if he shouts his throat open, no one will find him. And the railing in front of him was also welded to the ground. In order to escape from here, the man returned to his room and contacted the driver again, to make the driver believe that he is a wealthy man. So he revealed a few key trade secrets. After the driver searches online, discovering that the man did not deceive him, seeing the driver already believe him, the man quickly expressed that as long as the driver could rescue him, just give the driver $10 million. In order for the driver to find out where he is trapped, the man directly wrapped the hairdryer in socks, then cover it with a book blanket. After a while, a large amount of thick smoke erupted from the bed, and then floated out along the ventilation duct. But at this point, the man needs to climb to the end of the pipeline as soon as possible. Otherwise, he could have suffocated to death. Soon the driver outside drove to find this place. Then he firmly tied the trailer rope to the railing. Meanwhile, the man has also slowly moved to the end of the pipeline. But at this moment, his breathing also began to become difficult. Fortunately, the driver pulled the railing away in a timely manner. The man trapped for 3 days finally saw the light of day again.